I'd like to explain what tools need if somebody wants to become a shop.
Right. Well, I mean, we're here. We probably can just walk right through that, right?
Yeah, and it's basically, you don't have to have a lot of tools, but...
because you're outsourcing for the...
Right. The
plate.
Well, the plate actually we do here.
Oh, really?
This
okay.
plate we do. It comes with an 18-inch square or 14-inch square.
Okay.
And I have to match it to the bell housing. And,
all right.
And that's what this band's for.
Okay, so there's...
This is why this was bought.
Okay.
To cut that plate. Saved me, I was doing it the old-fashioned way for a long time. Let me tell you, it took me a day.
You figured out what makes it easier.
This takes about 30 minutes now.
There you go. Right.
Normally wear out one blade per. The tools for cable making.
Okay.
You have to have a crimping tool.
Sure.
You have to have something to cut the cable.
There you go. That's pretty thick
this
stuff.
This is the size of the cable that we're using. It's a 2-aught copper cable.
It's just like a finger.
Right. So you have to have these cut. These are I've got all kind of different styles. Lugs that we have to put on the ends, and they, fit on the end, and then that's what the crimping tool is. It crimps it down.
Okay.
Then we, of course, have heat shrink that heats up and seals it up. No air gets to it, no corrosion.
Ah, there you go.
Drill press is mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
You desperately need a drill press. And you don't have to have an expensive stuff either.
No, this looks like...
It does not have to be expensive.
This looks like off the shelf.
It is. Yeah. I went to... that came from the Home Depot, and I think between $150.
Okay.
That came from Harbor Freight and was $45, I think. So see, you don't have to spend a lot of money.
You have to know what to get.
Here is one piece of equipment that is a must, and it is expensive.
Okay.
Buy a good wire feed welder. Very, very important for welding battery trays, battery boxes. Of course, a good welding helmet don't scrape on that. You'll need assorted grinders and stuff. You can get those fairly reasonably. And to be quite honest with you, if you buy better quality stuff, you'll save a lot of money in the long run.
Right.
Other than that, an engine hoist, to get the engine out. An air compressor possibly for using some air tools, air grinders. If you're going to be doing a little painting or whatever, like I do on mine, you'll need some air to do that with.
Okay.
Other than that, just assorted hand tools, and the crimpers for the small wires that have to be put on, for your wiring. And basically, that's it. That's all you really need. You'll need some cutting tools to cut out the floor. If you step back here, let me show you. I'll show you on the BMW. Probably be easier to see.
Okay.
See, we cut the floor pans out.
Oh, how fascinating!
We cut the floor pans out so we can lower the batteries.
Yeah, getting it lower to
the center of gravity is lower. Down. That way, a lot more stable.
Sure. Always the same.
And they'll all be entirely closed off from the passenger compartment.
Yeah, and then that's also, I guess, painted underneath.
Oh yeah, all this will be painted underneath the bottom.
Right.
Actually, when we go to warm weather climates, like Florida, we just put a rubber mat in here to protect it from the mat and leave it basically open.
Sure.
That lets any gases that might possibly come out of the batteries go right on out the car and there's no problem.
Great.
And that car is the same way. It's had the trunk pan taken out of it, and the batteries. Let's see if I'm opening right fast.
And there it is. Yeah, it does drop down a little bit, but well above.
Well, you can't drop it too far because of you don't want it to drag the ground.
Sure, but it's still higher than the lowest point on the differential.
Right. Because people will tend to go over curbings.
Oh,
they
right.
Probably shouldn't go over.
That's true. You got the edge.
You have to keep all that in mind also.
Oh, sure.
Let me put you a little light back here so you can see this.
Okay, there we go.
And you see there's this box was actually be capable of carrying 15 batteries back here if I needed to.
Okay.
But since we're going with 8-volt batteries, there'll only be 11 batteries back here.
Interesting.
But this will also leave room for my heating system and my vacuum pump for the brakes and that sort of thing. And it'll all be sealed off from the passenger compartment. With a cover over it, you still have plenty of storage area in the trunk here.
Sure.
Still very capable of carrying things.
And if there was a rear end here, you've got some strong bars here.
this when I get through, this section of the car will be stronger than it was originally.
Right.
You know, I've had 35 years experience in the body shop business, so I'm pretty up to snuff on structural integrity of automobiles.
Sure.
So I know where we can add back to reinforce and make it stronger when we get through than when we begin.
So I hear you saying that people who have experience in auto body work are an underappreciated resource.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
They are the wise men of
when it comes
of
to
our
structural
country.
integrity of an automobile, a person that's been in the body business for a long time would be your best choice to ask, all right, where can I cut this car?
Right. He might not necessarily be the lead person, but you'd want him to be sort of consulting
And that's
and
very, very
available.
important. Very important.
Right.
Very important.
Because I could see people watching this video and was saying, hey, this is something I could go and do, but they need to build a team.
Yeah, right. Because every car is not the same.
Right.
You need to be cautious as what parts you do take out of an automobile. Never cut a frame rail if you don't have to.
Oh.
Never, ever. And if you do, you have to reinforce it.
Right.
You have to. It's imperative. So far, the automobiles we've done have been plenty strong enough. And the reason I like the BMW, Steve, is because it has such a beautiful, beautiful, strong, stiff structure that is not overly heavy.
Oh, interesting. It's just the way they engineered it?
Yeah, well, yeah, you see how it's got a good straight frame rails here?
Okay.
That are very, very strong. These rails here are extremely strong.
And
it
if you
goes
compare it over to
basically
here?
the length of the car. You see these rails, they're not straight per se. They go up and down.
Oh, I
They're not
see.
as heavy as what that frame rail would be. Even though it's structurally safe, this structure over here is much stronger than this structure here.
Interesting. Interesting.
And then you got the same type of railings that go in the back. So when we take out for the batteries, you still got two really good strong frame structures there.
To grab onto, right.
Even though all these are unibody type cars, there's a major difference in the structure of the unibody.
Okay.
And you have to be cautious. Any car can be converted, but you have to be very careful as to how much of a conversion you can do as far as what voltages and things you go in it. Because you never want to exceed the gross vehicle weight rating of an automobile.
Oh, I see. So you may get underperformance because you're having to back off on the number of batteries to stay
Even though
within.
a very, very light car works great, and I've had better luck with the very light cars. You can go, let's say like the Metro stuff could only go to 96 volts.
Well, that's a
just
good point.
because of weight.
Sure.
I had room I could have put 120 in, but because of weight factor, you needed to back off a little
Right. Yeah, I've heard of some people putting in extra springs.
Sometimes we do that, and I'll reinforce the springs on these. I'll put helpers in the springs and stuff. Just because as you compress a spring, the more you compress it, the stronger the spring rate becomes.
Oh, interesting.
So if you go ahead and put it in there, when it starts compressing, it actually becomes a stronger spring as it's compressed.